Hey everybody, welcome back. So today I take you to sunny Washington State where we went and visited my best friend Harold. If you haven't noticed, I have a few best friends, but this is my one best friend that lives in Washington. So we took a trip up to him. He's kind of in the Seattle, Tacoma area, and I'm going to show you his collection because he has an amazing toy collection. He's got a focus himself that's kind of separate from my focus. So he's got some cool vintage He-Man, cool vintage GI Joes, and we also went disc golfing. So I'll show you a couple of those highlights, and I will show you at the end what I picked up while I was there. So we went to a comic book store called Hill of Comic Books, and this store got crazy lucky because there was just this huge fire, this huge like old building, like they're in this kind of like the street of old buildings, and the whole huge building next to theirs, it's connected to them, burnt down. Like everything in that building is burnt down, and somehow they managed to not burn down themselves, which is insane. They had a bunch of water damage. I think they only lost a bunch of, remember, long boxes of comic books, but these guys have a crazy amount of long boxes of comic books. And these weren't even ones that they had out for sale. That's how many they have. Like, they have so many boxes, they don't even have room to put them all out for sale. But I was able to go through some of their stuff. We just happened to catch, they're actually closed, but we just happened to catch them, like, unloading some boxes into a truck. I walked up, I had my list of comic books that I need in my hand, and my buddy Harold knows the guy. So he was like, "Hey, yeah, my buddy's in town, and I know you're the stuff." So the guy let us go into their closed store and pick out a bunch of cool stuff. But I found some cool toys, found some cool comic books. But I'll show you that right after we get done with Harold's house and some of our other adventures.
Alright, we start off with some vintage 12-inch. Move on to, he's got some cool Dragon Ball Z stuff that I get him over for holidays, Christmas, birthday. Move on to Masters of the Universe. He's got some really cool old Masters of the Universe stuff. Not a bunch of it, but it's got it where it counts. I like this furry guy. I forget what he's called. Then he's got some newer stuff, the newer retro collection. That just got to go along with some of his vintage stuff. Pretty cool. Move on to the real heart of his collection, which is G.I. Joe. He's got a ton of G.I. Joe, it's insane. He's got a ton of figures, and I asked him if he had everything. Those are put out. He said not even close, which is crazy because there's so many Joes. It's insane how many Joes there are. He's got a lot of his G.I. Joes. Here we go on to his vintage Star Wars. He used to have the whole set a long time ago, but of course he sold it. And what he's got here is a bunch of the Mark Poon, some of the original stuff. It's a real vinyl kick Java cape, but still fun to have, a fake one if you can't afford a real one. And here's some of the Transformers. These are pretty cool. I always love the Dinobots. I kind of wish I had some of those, but maybe later down the line I'll pick up some of the old one. A little Voltron down there. Another 12-inch Leia. Looks like a Mask motorcycle. Disc golf. It's that way. I go back and forth here between disc golf and this cool stuff we saw at a mall. Washington. Disc golf. Kind of a fun hole. Baskets down there. We got a duck head over here. Kind of painted on a log. The baby. Back to the disc golf course. A whole lot of nature. Back to disc golf.
All right, well, welcome back from Washington. Hopefully you enjoyed all that stuff because he's got some really cool stuff. And it just makes it so I never have to collect any of that because, yeah, I don't need any of that. And that's his focus. So we'll start with, I'll go some toys and then comic books and then back to some more toys. So at Hill of Comic Books, I was kind of cruising along and I saw, after I was looking through the comic books, I was kind of cruising along one of their aisles and I saw they had a bunch of old toys. Carded stuff from the 90s. So I went through, raffled through some of it, and picked up a couple of things. I saw this old Dick Tracy Influence figure. And I don't have any other of the Dick Tracy figures, but I picked up Influence 'cause it's the only one I saw, and it was in great condition. So I was like, oh yeah, might as well. Pick that up. And, looking at the back, there's all the cool different ones you could get. So I'm looking at all the different ones you could get. And of course, there's Dick Tracy, and Sam Ketchum, and Big Boy Caprice, and all that, and the whole nine. And then, of course, is the blank, and the blank is if you haven't seen the Dick Tracy movie, the blank was played by not Marilyn Monroe, Madonna, and at the end it was like the big reveal that the blank was Madonna. But apparently I was looking up the figure from this set that is the blank. That if you took off the face, it's her underneath. The figure's worth crazy money, like thousands of dollars. So maybe it was super rare. I'm not quite sure what, but the only ones I saw on eBay were thousands of dollars. So that is insane. This one's not worth thousands of dollars. This one I got for super cheap. But I just thought that was funny, kind of old 90s stuff. So I guess if you're ever wondering what figures from Dick Tracy are worth any money, I guess the blank, that's the one that's worth money. And then I also picked up, this I saw was cool, Catwoman from Batman Returns. So I've got a bunch of these old 90s Batman toys. Most of them are open, but I do have a couple carded ones, but I don't have a Catwoman. And I love the Michelle Pfeiffer rendition of Catwoman. I actually used to live one town away from Michelle Pfeiffer, and I heard she was kind of not a very nice person, but big surprise. But yeah, I loved her in the Batman Returns movie as Catwoman, and I love that costume, of course. The crazy skin-tight leather, as you all have known. I actually used to work with a girl once that dressed up in that leather costume, and it was amazing. But also, lastly but not least, for the figures that I got from that store, I picked up this. This is the Reed Richards Fantastic Four 5-way stretch figure from Toy Biz. And this thing is amazing because when I was a kid, every Christmas when I was a kid, I would always ask Santa Claus, and my parents, it was like all I want for Christmas. My main thing, that's all I want for Christmas for years and years and years, like I'd say 5-6 years in a row, was the Marvel set that they had in the Sears catalog. Mr. Fantastic, and I think it was Invisible Woman and Spider-Man and one other figure was always in the set, and I never got it. For years I asked for this thing, I swear, 5 to 10 years in a row, I asked for the same figure set out of the Sears catalog, and I never got it. But so finally, after all these years, I was able to pick up and get and purchase a Reed Richards from the Fantastic Four. I don't know why I've never seen this before. Maybe at Comic-Cons, I don't know, maybe it was a little bit more popular here and there, but I've never been able to find this or actually even see this with my own eyes. But I'm super excited to finally get this. And I already have a Thing figure, it's loose. I have Invisible Woman, and I have an old Human Torch figure. So I guess I have all the Fantastic Four, but I need the Toy Biz Human Torch to make I guess the whole Fantastic Four complete. So I'll have to look out for that one in the near future. But super excited after all these years and every Christmas never getting it. I finally got Mr. Fantastic. Super excited. But let's go to the comic books. And we visited more than one comic shop over there. But I forget the name of the other comic book shop. But that's kind of unimportant because that comic book shop was lame. They didn't have any good issues. They weren't buying collections from people apparently because they didn't have anything really good. The only thing I picked up for them that was kind of cool of this nameless comic shop that's unimportant. It's just off of I-5 in kind of Auburn area. I got Sweet Tooth number 6 for Sweet Tooth The Return. I don't know if you guys have seen that on Netflix, but it's a good show. And this is actually what happens after the finale, I guess, of the first season of Sweet Tooth. So it's kind of a continuation of the story in the comic books, but they might change that storyline in the TV show, of course. And then I got number 1 because I didn't have number 1. All I had was number 3. But this one's kind of cool because it's Jim Lee. Yeah, this is a Jim Lee cover. So that's pretty cool. So Jim Lee actually did a cover for Sweet Tooth. So that's pretty cool. I like the kid that's acting in that show. He's kind of a sweet little kid. It's slightly almost reminiscent of Jake Lloyd, where it's like almost overacting. So it's almost kind of like painful to watch in a weird way, but it's still, more sellable, I guess, than Jake Lloyd, because Jake Lloyd, that was awful. But yeah, so what did I get from that? From the Nameless Comic Book Shop, too. I got a Green Lantern 176 from the Kyle Raynar run, for the first Kyle Raynar run, and that was only $1, so I couldn't pass that up. And it's a really cool cover. This is just like, the gloved hand and the ring. So that's pretty exciting. And then I picked up some more of the Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man set that I need, or don't need, but wanted. And actually, I kind of found a rare gem for pretty cheap in that. It's not that rare, but it was kind of cool to get and kind of read that comic book, and kind of like there's a crazy story in there that you wouldn't even expect to happen. But I got number 122. That's cool. I love the Black Spider-Man. Love that there's 3 Black Spider-Man on the cover. So that's exciting. Didn't have that one. I got number 123. And of course, it's got the Black Cat there. If you see, that's where Black Cat kind of had a different costume, kind of reminiscent of the 80s. Kind of a weird, like tights and kind of like a weird bomber jacket. And kind of the weird, like, short looking hair. Kind of like a mullet thing, but with a big, long rat tail thing. I don't know. It's really a bad look. And then number 119, which is cool because it's Sabretooth. Sabretooth's in Peter Parker's Spectacular Spider-Man for the second time. Maybe the third time, but this is just after he had been defeated by Spider-Man. And for some reason, his face is all chopped up. So I'm going to have to go back and read that other issue and how his face got all cut up. And for some reason in this, his healing factor isn't quite what it ended up being later on in the comic book series. Sabretooth has the same healing factor that Wolverine does, but maybe to a lesser degree. And especially in this, it's like to a way lesser degree, because he's like in the hospital even with bandages on his face, like his healing factor doesn't even exist. And then he fights the Black Cat, and that's what makes it crazy exciting. Because in this, he fights the Black Cat, and you would not believe the outcome that happens. Because if you're a fan of Wolverine and Sabretooth and the X-Men, you would think, of course, Sabretooth would just mop the floor with the Black Cat. Well, not in this issue. So I'm going to eventually I'm going to start covering comic books here and there when I can, when I get the time. And I'm going to cover this issue and cover that battle because it's amazing. All right, but moving back to Hill of Comic Books. So this is what I picked up from Hill of Comic Books. I found a bunch of old Green Lantern issues. Of course, they have this, like, everything in this big, huge row is, like, all 50% off. So the prices don't really reflect how much it costs. But I got these just old, like, original Silver Age Hal Jordan Green Lantern books. So this original number 62, Hal Jordan. So that was pretty cool to come across and get. A little beat up, so it was cheap. And then I got number 95 with the Green Arrow with, look, no mustache, no goatee. It's just Green Arrow. All nice and cleanly shaven. So that was kind of funny to get. And then I got number 121. I thought I had this one, or maybe I've just seen it so many times that I thought I had it, but I'm not quite sure. I'm going to have to double check. So I might actually have this one. I might have to resell this one, but it's still cool. It's a cool cover. Green Lantern. Losing his power ring. And then got this one, number 109. It's kind of cool because there's this kind of reminiscent Batman character. It's kind of a cross between a couple characters, but there's Black Canary all knocked out there on the bottom. And then, of course, we got the Golden Age Green Lantern story in this book as well. And, yeah, it looks like this Bat character is kind of mopping the floor with the Green Lantern. So that's pretty interesting. And then I got Green Lantern number 66. This is an older one. Looks like he's in the future, 5708 AD. And looks like the people don't like him so much there, so that's pretty interesting. Kind of wondering what's going on with that. And of course, they had some newer comic books sitting there. They had a Phage variant that I hadn't seen, so I picked that up. And the Phages, this is part of the new crazy, Extreme Carnage series that's going on right now. So I picked that up. And then I recently listened to a video of Comic Books Explained about Moon Knight, and it kind of piqued my interest, because I guess Moon Knight's kind of Marvel's answer to Batman. But they put a twist on it, that the guy might be crazy, and he might be imagining everything that you're reading. So I picked up the new Moon Knight number 1 just to kind of see what it's all about. Because, yeah, it sounds like a more interesting story than I guess I gave it credit for. And then while I was also there, I found this bad boy. This was kind of a cool find, because it was really cheap for what it is. And this is Showcase number 75. But this is the very first appearance of Hawk and Dove. And I don't know if you've seen the new Titans show that's on HBO. Max, but they just came out the second season. I guess they're coming out with the third season. But Hawk and Dove are part of the show, and it's not the same Dove, but it is the same Hawk. So I think it's Hank Hall is the guy's name. But Dove now, of course, is a girl. But this is the original Dove, which was his brother. And I'm not quite sure what ended up happening. I think he maybe died, and then he got replaced with the girl version of Dove. This is pretty cool, though, to find the first appearance of these guys, or these characters, especially since I more recently got those first appearances of Teen Titans and then Teen Titans #1. So this is kind of cool to kind of go along with that. And then lastly but not leastly, just because I saw it and I had to and I don't have it, I got Venom Separation Anxiety #1. And this one's cool because it's kind of an embossed cover. So it's like when you see these masks or the symbiotes, different symbiotes, they're like lifted off of the page. So it's not just a flush comic book page. It's like actually like 3D, like popping out from the page. And it's just kind of cool to see Eddie Brock there, surrounded by a bunch of different symbiotes. And it looks like his symbiote is gone right now, and he's about to get attacked by all these baddies. But I didn't have this one, and I kind of always wanted it because I just kind of like the looks of this cover. That's a really cool cover. But yeah, so that basically takes care of everything that I picked up while I was in Washington. But yeah, I hope you liked Harold's collection. I hope you liked all that extra little footage, a little bit of disc golf and all that. But make sure that if you like my content to like and subscribe, and I will talk to you soon.